Hello. How we doing? How's sound? Sound is good? Sweet. Oh man, it's been a long day. Broken Empires, Trevor Duvall, the guy behind it, just put up an official Kickstarter notice basically saying what everyone was expecting, that it's gonna miss their deadlines and pushing it back like 3 or 4 months, it sounds like, maybe. And of course it's turned into this huge kerfuffle with what happens with all these Kickstarters is really angry people posting. The Discord is not a pleasant place to be right now. But that's okay, because we're here. So this is just a little... I was kind of inspired. I was thinking about like my group of players in real life, and how they're all very unique. Like, you couldn't just say, oh yeah, those two play the same and those two play the same. They're all very different, which obviously they are because they're people. But I thought it might be kind of fun to kind of go through them. Names have been changed to protect the innocent, and just sort of talk about what, in a very biased way, I regard as sort of their strengths and their challenges. One of them is me. I'm not going to tell you which one. And then I created a very, very unscientific quiz we can take at the end. But I thought it might be kind of fun if people could kind of just comment after I go through each type. They're not really types, but each person, do you play with people like this? Do you see some of this in yourself? Does this bug you? Do you prefer this? That kind of thing. And then at the end, we'll just go through the little quiz, and you can score yourself in a very unscientific way, and we can match you with someone whose name has been changed and you have no idea who they are. So we'll give that a try. So let me just switch this over there real quick. All right. Here I am in a little box. I got to get a TV graphic. I keep meaning to overlay me with a TV graphic, and I keep forgetting. Looks like it's coming up okay, though. Good, good. Okay. All right, so, and the reason it's 4.5 is because 4 of these people, I have a solid grasp on their play styles because I played with them for so long, and we enjoy each other's company, and we tease each other about these things. The half is, we'll get to the half in just a sec, but anyway, let me switch to our first one here. So here's our first one. This is Fred. So Fred's strengths are story-focused, enjoys character interactions, supportive of the game master. Challenges, a bit of a goldfish, weakness for quirky characters, and demotivated easily by a low-energy group. So Fred is like the Boy Scout. I don't know. Fred wants to be there. Fred likes to be there. Fred likes the social parts of the game. Character interactions are a big thing. he likes to see what the game master is working on, what their ideas are, and wants to support them. I've noticed that since I started playing online with Jeremy and Will is one of these two, but again, names have been changed to protect the innocent. Jeremy and Will, and also Terry, and occasionally other folks. We kind of come together to support the game master more than I think I get in real life in my group. And it's really rewarding. Not that it doesn't happen in my real life group. It's just less consistent, I would say. But Fred is a goldfish in that, like, every time a new game comes along, Fred is like, oh, look over there. That looks cool. And then quirky characters, right? So not quite to the level of like Seth Korkowski did a video about gimmick characters, and so not as like one-dimensional as a gimmick character. It's a pretty good video. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. So not quite to that level, but definitely like there's a forward-facing quirk that kind of is like, that's how you get into the character. Then you develop other things, right? But you start with this real quirky thing. The 13th Warrior also. Not quite there. We're actually going to talk about that person in a moment. But yeah, definitely there are those 13th Warriors. We need our mat headroom. Yeah. I'll try to do that before the next thing I do. Demotivated easily by a low energy group. Now, this is funny because I think this could happen to a lot of different people, but for Fred, it's a big deal. And it's a challenge in my in real life group because people bring different energies all the time. Like maybe they had a long day at work, or they're just not feeling it, or when we get to the half, that person is never really bringing the right energy to the group. But yeah, so then that kind of stacks onto this person and weighs them down, right? Which magnifies it for the whole group, of course. So the kind of characters that this person usually plays, companions, servants, or a fish out of water. So people who either are paired with someone so that they can have that fun interaction, or they're like a servant or somehow support another person. So again, they're having this kind of weird, fun dynamic. Or fish out of water. Not to the 13th Warrior, which would be a real danger in that situation. But this person's, even though they're fish out of water, they don't actively oppose the themes of the game or anything like that. It's just they're just very different. A good example of this is there was a zine I got a long time ago when I was kind of on the Dungeon Crawl Classics binge, and in this zine someone had made a guy in a banana suit character, and the whole idea is the dancing banana suit thing, like Arrested Development if you're into that, but I'm sure you've seen it. It's literally a guy in one of those suits, falls through a dimensional portal and lands in the Dungeon Crawl Classics world, or whatever world you're playing in, and that becomes a class. Like the banana suit guy is a class in the game. Makes no sense, doesn't mesh in any thematic way with the other characters, but it's hilarious. And as long as they play along, they're not really 13th Warrioring it, because it's not like guy in a banana suit's going to say, I'm opposed to going over to the island of doom or whatever. You're a guy in a banana suit. You have no grounds to be opposed to that. Right? So that's Fred. And you'll see there's a little 24 to 31 over here. That's quiz related. We'll get to that in a mo. So let's look at the next one. Let's look at Tony. So Tony, strengths would be makes very unique characters, understands the plot and mystery often before others, has a stoic nature punctuated by the great ideas or funny jokes. And then Tony's challenges are a little too stoic, low role play, and sometimes goes rogue and doesn't support the group in the game. So makes very unique characters. This particular person, just almost every time we start a new game, just absolutely kills me. A lot of the games we play in real life are run by Will, who's on the channel playing with us a lot. He loves doing homebrew stuff, so completely homebrew system and completely homebrew worlds. In fact, I don't remember last time I played a game that Will ran that wasn't completely his entirely. But the last time we made characters for one of Will's games, Tony made a guy who fought in fighting pits. It was a fantasy, like kind of grim fantasy thing. He fought in fighting pits, but he dressed more like a luchador, and he fought barehanded because he wanted to just be a luchador. So this is kind of gritty fantasy game where people are making like, classic fightery people. One guy was a pirate. I was like a barbarian who was into blood rituals. And then Tony made a luchador. And it was awesome. Because again, he didn't like sabotage the themes of the game really. I mean, it was weird, but he didn't stop. There were no stories being halted by his actions. He was into it. And then he understands plot and mystery often before others. He's really thinky, like quiet thinky, right? He doesn't think out loud like I do. Like if we're doing like a mystery, I'm going to think out loud, but he'll just suddenly say something and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. Okay. So in a way, he's like good for the group and good for the GM too, because he can figure this, he can suss things out. And then he has a stoic nature punctuated by great ideas or funny jokes. Again, because his like standard is to be pretty quiet. When he does say something funny, it just wrecks the whole table because it comes out of nowhere. Yes, Claire, mostly fantasy. Will is definitely a fantasy dude. Either fantasy or weird hybrids. Like the game where we just started a new game with Will, and we started in, was it 1963, 62, 63, something like that. And we were all people brought in by the government to go through a portal that they hadn't figured out the nature of yet. So I was a guy that did 3 tours at reconnaissance in Vietnam and had been taken in by the, was it Magic something? Project Magic? The one where they tested people with LSD and stuff like that. And so I may or may not be like capable of psychic remote viewing, or it may just be in my head. Anyway, one of the other characters is a lifelong Cold War spy. MK Ultra, thank you very much. And so that one seemed like it was going to just be this weird X-Files kind of thing, but when we came out on the other side, we were in a fantasy world. So he still snuck the fantasy in. But it's cool. Off topic. So anyway, yeah, when he does throw out that idea or that joke, it like hits really hard because he is so quiet. Challenge is he's a little too stoic. There are literally times where someone will say something to him and he just won't immediately acknowledge it. And then like a couple minutes later, maybe he does. I guess I could say he's on the spectrum. I never asked. I've known the guy 20 years. I've never asked. But we all love him, so it's fine. But low role play. He doesn't... Everything is... my character does this. He never really gets into the skin of his character. He will point out to people things his character would do or how they would react and things like that. But he doesn't actually like live in the skin of his character ever. Like there's never any talking as his character. And I'm not talking about necessarily like doing the silly voice or anything. Just in general, playing as his character. It's all a step removed, which is fine. Everyone does it their own way. Totally fine. I think he could do a little more if he wanted to, but that's fine. And then sometimes goes rogue and doesn't support the group in game. So there have been moments where he does get a little 13th Warrior, not in like design of characters. He never intentionally designs a character that's just going to sabotage the whole thing. But there have been times where in his mind and the logic of the game, his character wouldn't do the thing that everyone else thinks we should be doing. He won't hold up a whole adventure, but like say we're exploring a village because we know there's a goblin sneaking around stealing children or something, he would say, "No, my character's gonna go sleep. It's been a long day." And I guess in that respect, he is role playing more because he's thinking about his characters being tired, which people don't usually do that for their character. But so once in a while he'll throw a monkey wrench in like that, and it will just kind of be like, there goes, I almost said his real name, Tony. So the kind of characters he plays are usually like oddballs and 13th Warriors, but I feel like I should caveat that now and say low level 13th Warriors, not adventure sabotaging 13th Warriors and not campaign sabotaging 13th Warrior. So like Seth Skorkowski also has another great video where he talks about the 13th Warrior that I really enjoy. Those 13th Warriors are just trouble in general, and he's not really like that. We're not going to that level. Stargate, yes, it is sort of a Stargate situation, to the point that when we got taken in by this super secret government agency, which no one knows what it is or where it was from, we got introduced to an alien that they had captured at Roswell, and he was just there helping the government figure things out, but apparently wasn't helping them very well. And he added some weird, cool little bits, like apparently these portals are all over the world and different countries control one. And at one point, the U.S. one received a Soviet radio signal from the other side. So that was kind of what accelerated their plans to get people to go through, because they haven't been able to send anything through and get it back. So they found some suckers to do that, which was us. It's been fun. It's a super simple system. Will's not a big fan of randomness. So his systems are usually pretty low on the randomness. It's just a little like 2d6 roll to beat a 7 usually, and you have background like qualities that you can spend this little metal currency pool you have to add to rolls when appropriate, and you just get a +2. He doesn't like crazy number crunching or anything like that, so it's a really simple system, but it works. It's fun. We're enjoying it. Next one, Clay. So Clay's strengths are quickly groks math and systems, asks what the party needs in session 0, open to try any game. And his challenges are concerned with playing the right way, always goes along with the group, and is susceptible to butt hurt. So this guy is super smart. Like, I am not a math person, and I admire he actually teaches math, and which is nice. sometimes because I'm always hitting him up for questions about statistics and things. So when we do a new system or we got to learn a certain mathy thing, he's always on it. He's got it covered, which is cool. And one side part of that is he's always thinking about the character build. So he leans more to like a traditional D&D game, like a 3rd through 5th game where you're tweaking knobs and stacking abilities, and he likes to suss that stuff out. He plays a lot of video games that are of that ilk too, so to each their own. Ask what the party needs in session 0. Okay, so almost to his detriment, he is always worried about the team being balanced, and he always wants to make a character that will help fill out and balance the team, which it's a nice thing. It's a nice sentiment. It comes from a good place. I don't play that way myself, which can be a little bit of a problem when we're both players and someone else is game master, because that's not really my angle with role playing. But it's always his concern, and then I get worried for him because I'm like, are you going to play a cleric again just because no one else wants to? Why don't we, call me crazy, why don't we just not have a cleric this time? You know what I mean? So it comes from a good place, and it is actually helpful, system-wise for the group that he has that attitude. Oh, hey, Vera, welcome. Good to see you. I just worry that he's pigeonholing himself. He's like locking himself in a box because he doesn't think about what would be fun for him to role play. He's thinking more about what's going to help care for the group. He's almost like a mama bird kind of thing. But having said that, he is open to try any game. We throw a million games at this guy. And like I said, he is really more of a, D&D 3rd through 5th player. That's his go-to. The only time I've ever seen him run anything has either been 3.5 or 5. And whenever he talks about role-playing stuff, he's speaking in those terms. But Will throws all his crazy homebrew games at him, and Matt throws all his look at this game, guys. I bought this at him. And he rolls with it. He totally rolls with it. He gets that math stuff I was talking about earlier, and then he immediately susses out what the vibe of the group is, and then makes a character that he thinks will help the group, because that's what he does. So challenges, concerned with playing the right way. So this goes back to his ask what the party needs in session 0 strength. He goes too far, in my opinion. He's thinking like we're a group in WoW or something, where, okay, we got our tank, we got our DPS, we got our healer. We need to have the synergies all turned up to 11. And he's always worried about that. And it's tough because the rest of the group very much not so much worried about that. For different reasons, but not worried about that. And so I always feel like he's, again, trying to be the mama bird and take care of everybody at the cost of maybe he'd have a little more creative fun if he got to try something new. But we're still working on him on that one. Always goes along with the group. When you're playing, obviously there'll be times where the group has to make decisions about ways to go, how to address situations, and he doesn't really stand up for himself very much, and I've noticed, and he doesn't really ever take the vanguard, right? He's never the leadership person in those situations. He's never like, guys, I know we should do this. He's usually just like, unless you say something just so obtuse, so off the wall wackadoodle, then he'll call you out on it. But if it's just like a choice between left and right, or intimidate or persuade, or whatever role playing choice, he's just gonna roll with it. And again, I worry about that because I think it's to his detriment a little bit. Like it's not allowing him to stretch his wings or whatever. But maybe he just enjoys it, and that's fine. The last part, though, is tough. He is very susceptible to butt hurt. He will, if you have a string of bad rolls, he will get noticeably upset at the table, and we all have to kind of like, kid gloves for a little bit, kind of thing. Not so much butthurt from other people, although that has happened. It's more like just circumstance, randomness. He's kind of like Will in that he doesn't like randomness. I guess I'm giving away that this isn't Will I'm talking about. He doesn't like randomness. He gets a little annoyed when there's a series of bad rolls in a row that he can't control. So there's going to be a moment in every session where it's, Clay has a case of the butt hurt, so we're just gonna like softly move around that issue for a little bit until he gets over it. But it's never super bad. It's never like he storms out or anything. I've had that happen with other people, but those are board game nights, not not role playing nights. Thank goodness. Yeah, Vero, it sounds like gossip, right? What I'm hoping will happen is people will look at these different personalities and sort of just comment. Let me know if you play with people like this, or if you see yourself in any of these. That would be awesome. I'd love to hear about that. They're sort of tropes, but they're human beings. That's why they look a little mixed up. They're not like one thing and then another thing. It's a mix of things. All right. That was Clay. Let's talk about Phil. All right. Phil's strengths are he's a creative thinker as a player and GM, loves learning new systems, and is a full participant, always present. Challenges for Phil. As a GM, he tends to be more into the system than the story. Unapologetically disinterested in history and culture. Prefers to run homebrew games but loses interest fast. Oh, I may have given this one away a little bit. Creative thinker as a player and a GM. So really comes up with smart, clever ideas, whether he's playing a game or running a game. Can always count on Phil to have a good idea or to see through stuff that maybe the rest of us don't. Loves learning new systems. So he's a system head, a little bit like me, except he never wants to run the systems. He wants to take bits of it, learn from it, and evaluate it, which I like to do too. But I want to play these games. They're like just another toy in the toy box for me. Where Phil prefers to just read about them, learn about them, and absorb them, but then go on and do his own thing. He's full participant, always present. Never a down role-playing session with him. Very, very reliable, very enthusiastic, and very supportive when as a player, very supportive of the GM. There'll be times when I'm running a game in our real life group that I can tell that people are just not vibing for whatever reason, but I can still connect with this person because he's always there, he's always interested, and he's always giving into the game, which has always been my thing, is like, you can't expect the game master to throw all the energy out there and you just sort of bathe in it. You have to give back energy. The game master deserves to receive input from the players and energy from the players the same way they're putting it out. So he always does that. He's a rock in that way. Challenges as a GM, he tends to be more into the system than the story. So definitely a system head. He likes thinking about how to make things work, but only more for his homebrew stuff. He likes making systems and thinking about ways to mitigate randomness in games. And that's always what he starts with, and then he puts a game story or theme or trope, whatever you want to call it, on top of that. So there'll be a lot of times in those games where once we get past the system explanation and make characters and start playing, we'll hit upon the thing where he's like, I hadn't really thought about that yet, or I hadn't really thought about that yet, which is not a huge deal. But it does make it so we have this weird cast of characters I'm describing have to fill in those blanks a lot. And sometimes it might be going in a direction he hadn't intended, like, or might be picking up a vibe he didn't intend at all. So that can be a challenge, but it's not a deal breaker. He's unapologetically disinterested in history and culture. This matters to me. It may not matter to you, but I think if you have some exposure to history and culture, you can speak a more colorful, imaginative language in a game, because you can draw on all these wonderful analogs and metaphors and things that you just know because you have this exposure. He doesn't want to do any of that, and that's why sometimes in games we'll get the kind of like, oh, I didn't think about that kind of answer. So it's a challenge. Prefers to run homebrew games but loses interest fast. So in the same way that one of my my challenges is every time I see a new game I get excited. After he runs one of his homebrew games for 2 to 4 sessions, you can see his interest in it wane, and then it'll kind of die over a short period of time, and then maybe a month or two go by and he'll start talking about how he's working on a new system. It's almost been a little bit of a joke in the group, is like, well, we're making characters again. And sometimes I'll just make characters with a new system in the pre-existing world he used for a previous game. Sometimes he'll scrap it all and start everything over again. It's amusing, but it also keeps us from ever having like a really long campaign that if he's running. Not that, I mean, I have those problems too, but for a different reason. It's because I chase the hotness too much, I guess. Calarian, yeah, you busted him. Okay. Usually plays wizards, wise old people, or rich guys. Yeah, so when Phil's playing, he likes to play someone who is qualified, someone who's an expert, or someone who is very knowledgeable. So he, a lot of times, I think one of the classic ones for him that we all expect in a fantasy game is for him to play an old man wizard, like a venerable old wizard. Like, it's just a standard. But he might also, if it's a different kind of game, but they have like a system like a lot of games do where age affects like your skill points or your talent pool or something like that, he's always going to play the old person because he wants those points. He wants to be good at knowing things or at magic or, more expert type stuff. Not necessarily a good fighter, not like min-maxing to be the most deadly rogue in the world. It's more role play, actually, because it's more about being the knowledgeable one or the competent one. Or rich guys. So if it's the right system, like maybe Call of Cthulhu or something more modern, where wealth can be bought in character creation, he's always going to get a rich guy. Because he can kind of like supplant some of that expertise with throwing money around. So it's really interesting because, you know, he doesn't want to optimize and make the most powerful combat character, but he'll make a guy who can pay for someone to go do some combat for him, you know, or a wizard that'll just throw you into the next universe or something. So it's pretty fun. I actually usually, and obviously, I think it's already figured out by KokoroNoMe, but yeah, I enjoy playing with his characters a lot. Okay, so now's the half in the 4.5. We have one other player in our group, and he's nothing but challenges, drives me up a wall, but that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about Larry. And you'll see Larry only has challenges. Strength for Larry, I don't know what they would be. His strengths is he's avoided Matt, you know, stabbing him in the eye with a 4-sided die to this point. You know, I tried to think, like, are there any, like, more practical strengths I could say? Like, he's always there on time or anything? And like, no, because sometimes he's not there. And so I just went with challenges. So the challenges are really a board gamer that's just going along with the group, makes the same thieving backstabber in every game, impatient and sarcastic at the table. Okay, so he is really just a board gamer. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I play board games. I have a board game night once a week. So I love board games. We all do in our group. But that's what he likes to do specifically. And it's because he's in a group. Some of the people in the group knew him from like high school. And some of us met him because he was brought in by these people that knew him from high school. So he is there for the board gaming, but he will play the role-playing games because he wants to do with the group. He wants to participate with the group, but he's not going to necessarily make it pleasant for us. So because of that, when we do play a game and he makes a character, it's pretty much always the same thieving backstabber in every game. Like, he makes thieves if it's appropriate for the game, or if it's like more modern, like we played that Star Frontiers fan kind of homage game, Frontier Space, right? It's like a new game that was meant to kind of be like an OSR style version of the old Star Frontiers sci-fi RPG from TSR. It's a pretty cool game, but he made a guy who was just an immoral crook, basically, and he almost always steals from the other characters. You know, if it's a situation where there's like a loot, he's always going to try to get it before anyone else, or steal it in the middle of the night, kind of thing. It feels childish to me. I think it bothers me more than the rest of the group, I'll be honest with you. But the last part is what kind of impacts it to that and makes it a little worse, is he is impatient and sarcastic at the table. So because he doesn't really want to be playing role-playing games, he wants to be playing board games. Anything that slows the game down, like a social interaction, oh my God. Ugh. His mood instantly turns. And he just wants to go. He's like, move, next thing. Let's get past this social crap and go stab someone in the face. Which is funny because it's actually how he plays board games. Like, he takes his turn really fast and like gets really impatient when people have like a little bit of analysis paralysis and want to think about their turns and stuff. Just an impatient dude. Sounds like trolling. Kind of funny though, hearing it but not experiencing it. Yeah, he's not really a troll, but not intentionally a troll. But he can be very sarcastic at the table. like openly making fun of people, like, and you know, like the role playing ecosystem. When you're in a little group and you're in your little at your table playing your game, and everyone's role playing to their own degree of comfort. When someone starts getting sarcastic or maybe mocking a little bit, it takes you out of it, man. Like it, because it's not their character being sarcastic or mocking; it's just them, right? So that one kind of teased me off, obviously. So that's why Larry got a half on here. And as far as characters he plays, like I mentioned, he always plays a thieving backstabbers. Yeah, I can't think of a time he hasn't made a character who wasn't either because the game allowed it a thief or a morally gray character who just steals from anybody anytime. Which to me, that's almost like a maturity thing, which there's no excuse for because everyone in this group is above 40, right? And this feels like something I would have encountered in high school, role playing in high school kind of age. Like that's when I would run into people that just played these, you know, inter-party conflict stealing jerk kind of characters all the time. Kills the vibe. Yeah, it does. And, you know, if it's not like he's coming in and kicking someone's cat or bullying anyone in real world terms or you know, just being verbally abusive, openly verbally abusive, it's more subtle than that. It's more sarcasm and snide remarks kind of stuff. And because there's this relationship dynamic with a couple of guys in the group, it's a little harder to be addressed. So we all just try to be friends, you know? But it's a challenge. It's a real challenge, and I ain't going to lie. Okay, so that was the 4.5. Now, let's see, who's on here? Vero and Calarian, I see. Okay, you guys, and if we happen to have any lurkers, we're going to take a quiz. So open a notes app on your phone or your computer, or grab a piece of paper and a pencil, because I'm just kind of curious. This is totally unscientific. So here's our quiz. There's 10 statements. It'll take you a minute to absorb. There's 10 statements, right? And what I would like people to take the quiz to do is to rate every statement based on how much you agree with that statement. 1 being the least, 10 being the most. There are a couple rules to make this fake scientific. Only one of these things can get a 10. Only one of these things can get a 9. Only one of these things can get a 1. And only one of these things can get a 2. And you have to assign those, a 10, a 9, a 1, and a 2. Then the rest of them, so that leaves 6 more. Any number between 3 and 8, and you can repeat those numbers. So if you wanted to do a 10, 9, 1, 2, and all 5s, because you're just not moved by any of these statements, you can do that. But that's the basic idea. So take a moment, open a notes app, or grab a pen and paper, and I'm just going to read through them. So number 1 is, session zeros are an essential part of starting a new campaign. Number 2, you should build a character that fills a specific mechanical role in the party. Number 3, I like mystery games. Number 4, the group should cooperate in the game no matter what. 5, social encounters are important. 6, backstories for characters are unnecessary. 7, I like dungeon crawls. 8, combat should be granular and simulationist. And I can come back to that one if anyone has questions about what I mean with that. Number 9, I I like games where players drive and craft the story. And number 10, one-shots and short campaigns are superior to longer campaigns. So if you're feeling it, take the quiz and let me know how you're doing. If you have any questions, let me know about those. Clarion, I missed your comment. Is this Dylan? No, Dylan actually doesn't play with us regularly. He'll pop in once in a while, but you know, he's a young 20-something with things to do. So once in a while, he'll grace us with his presence, but he's not a regular at the table. So session zeros are an essential part of starting a new campaign. I've played games every which way, right? When I was young, we would just make characters and jump into a D&D module. So I've done that all the way up to very detailed world building session zeros where the players are contributing to the actual how this world works, what we want the threats to be, what we want the magic to look like, you know, really super detailed like that. I've played it every which way. I have my preference. I don't want to bias anyone with it, but you should build a character that fills a specific mechanical role in the party. A lot of people would approach things that way. I think it comes almost more from like MMO culture. That's just sort of a guild raidy kind of approach to things that obviously it's logical. And if you take a D&D game, especially from say 3 to 5, editions 3 to 5, balance is a critical component of those games, right? Like they obsess about the balance. The game masters agonize, or dungeon masters agonize about the prep work they do to balance all their encounters, right? Which, so on the character side, that's all about filling these roles. Good or bad, you decide. I like mystery games. I love a good mystery game. I really enjoyed our Blade Runner sessions that Jeremy ran online for us. Really enjoyed those. I haven't got to play a lot of mystery stuff in real life in a long time because our current group, it's usually just me or Phil running games. So if there's a mystery game, it's because I ran it. But just the things I've been into recently haven't lent themselves to a lot of mystery stuff. But I like mystery games a lot. The group should cooperate in the game no matter what. I feel like that's a sentiment some people have. I think it ties into question 2, right? You should build a character that fills a role, and you should cooperate in the game no matter what. I don't think if you're role playing your characters and they all have clear goals and motivations and things they need, there's any way you can always cooperate. Like, it doesn't make sense. It feels artificial to me, but everyone has their own opinion. Social counters are important. Well, it's role playing, ROLE, right? So hopefully people generally think they're at least kind of important. I can get that maybe some people don't love them a lot. I think one of the problems, to be honest, is that people don't necessarily feel like when they're talking, they can be as like persuasive or charismatic or authoritative as they want their character to be. And that's why it's important that game masters recognize that it's the character, the skill scores or the attribute scores of the character that matter. The player can just give you their general attempt at it, but you shouldn't expect your player to be as persuasive as the 18 charisma character they made, or anything like that. Blade Runner was incredible. Yeah, that was fun, man. I'm looking forward to getting back to that someday. Perez ain't dead yet, right? Backstories for characters are unnecessary. This kind of links to that session 0 idea a little bit. So you have a huge spectrum on this one, right? Some people will just make character like, I'm a thief. Don't ask me any questions. That's what I am. And then all the way to the other side, where people will bring you like a notebook just full of backstory, which is always funny when if you're making like a entry level game, like you're all starting at level 1 or whatever that game's equivalent of being level 1 is. So they have a backstory that's massive, and there's a YouTube channel, Viva La Dirt League. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of them. That they do a bunch of like very funny skits about gaming, and they've actually addressed this in a couple bits they've done. I think about playing D&D, where it's like you have this massive backstory where you've done all these epic things, but you're level 1. How does that work? How does that make sense? You should have some backstory, but in my opinion, you should have some backstory. But writing a short, like a novella, for your entry-level character's backstory might be a bit of a stretch. Giving me sudden quiz trauma. There's no grading. You won't be graded. Just score them all. Okay, so what's the next one? Oh, I like dungeon crawls. I want to say who doesn't, but some people don't. I like dungeon crawls, me personally, that are centered around the exploration and the survival aspects of it. It's like if you're gonna have a full-on dungeon crawl where it's like a large dungeon, then I like games where you care about torches and you care about rations and you care about figuring out how you're going to heal in these hostile environment and stuff like that. Smaller dungeons are great too. I love a good just 5-room dungeon, like the classic 5-room dungeon. Love it. That's a very different animal than a big, long, sprawling mega dungeon or mid-sized dungeon crawl. Combat should be granular and simulationist. So this would be very tactical and very crunchy, right? So there are some games where you have like phases to the game, right? So it's like a turn work doesn't just go on initiative. It's like first it's the magic players casting, and that's in its own initiative, and then it's the missile, and that's in its own initiative. Then it's the people with long reach weapons. Then it's the people with short reach weapons. Then it's the people doing anything else, right? So that would be one of those. Another would be like, I think the Harn system, where there's a percentile rolls and more percentile rolls and options and hit locations and more granular hit locations and wounds and wound effects. And it's a lot of tracking and it's a lot of options, and it's meant to make things feel more real, right? Can this go overboard? I absolutely think it can. One of the big things about this game I keep talking about, won't shut up about, the Broken Empires, is it's sim light is the idea. The creator's calling it sim light. So it's like he wants to evoke the feelings of all these crunchy simulationist games, but speed it all up, right? Less tracking, less rolling, less questions, less flipping around in the book to remember what a thing is, but still have this kind of gritty combat. Number 9 was I like games where players drive and craft the story. This one would get a high rating from me. I think players should make most of the decisions about where the game is going to go. I think the game master should facilitate. The game master should throw some stuff out there that they think is fun, but not force people to always go that way, right? And then if we jump back, talk about a mystery game, okay, well, now it's a little harder to do that, but you can still allow these players to take tangents and address, finding clues or talking to suspects on their terms and the spaces they want to do it in. So, yeah, just the players drive the narrative, and this can happen in session 0 too. Players can really contribute to what this game is going to look like, what the world of this game is going to look like. And then what was the last one? One-shots and short campaigns are superior to longer campaigns. So that would definitely be what we're doing on the channel most often, is one-shots or short campaigns. Mostly one-shots, I guess, but not always. So Vassen, we had a decent sized run. Will and I as the players, Jeremy as the GM, we actually had a lot of adventures. It was a lot of fun, a lot of sessions. May have only been 4 or 5 actual adventures, but it was probably then like 10 to 12 sessions, I would imagine. A lot of fun. Enjoyed that. Blade Runner, not technically a campaign, but 2 solid adventures using reoccurring characters over the course of, I'm going to say 6 or 7 sessions, something like that. Loved that too. What's the other one? Early on when we started playing with Jeremy, we played John Carter from Mars. And it was just me and Will at that point. A lot of sessions to that. I think it was technically a campaign from the rulebook. So we ended up doing this whole campaign, but I guess that would count as more of a short campaign because I think it was maybe like 3 discrete adventures, 6 to 8 sessions probably. Dune was good stuff. Really enjoyed that, and that was very long term. And what I loved about that, not epic real world long term, like I've played in some pretty beefy long campaigns back in the day, but for us, for online, it was pretty long term. And what I really liked about it was we saw our characters change, right? Our positions changed, our motivations changed, our interpersonal relationships changed. So cool. That was so cool. But I've also learned to love the one-shots playing online with Jeremy and everybody. Like the Alien one-shots are a blast. We've done a lot of little one-shots. I had a lot of fun playing our little Tunnels and Trolls thing. I don't know that we'll ever get back to it, but it was fun. We've done quite a few one-shots right now. I hope that this Cthulhu thing that we did, the little introductory adventure, can keep going. Probably intermittently as we play other things, but I would love for Will and I's characters to come back, and maybe we get Terry to make a character. We can have at least 3 people playing, 3 investigators, and we can just keep going through these adventures and developing these characters. I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, so I have been blathering. I hope you decided to play along. Here's what you have to do. You'll notice that each question has an A or a B next to it. So you're going to have 5 A's and 5 B's. So you're going to add up your A's, you're going to add up your B's, and then you're going to subtract your B's from your A's. This will give you a number that might be negative, probably be positive, but might be negative. And then we can compare that to my silly unscientific scoring on each of these personality types. So I'm just going to check the chat. If Vero or Clarion, looks like we didn't get Abyss, huh? He's probably asleep. So you have time, you have the inclination. I would love it if you guys would try this out, my totally unscientific quiz. I wanted to, I looked at some quizzes online, like some ones that people had published about role-playing characters or role-playing personality types or role-playing play styles. And I wasn't really feeling them. Like, they were a little hokey for the most part. So I thought I'd just make my own. Oh, how do we add them? So just add all your A's. So that's going to be questions 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Add them together. And that'll be your A total. And then add all your B's, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That'll be your B total. And then subtract the B's from the A's. So like if you have a 30 in A's and a 10 in B's, you end up with a net 20. If you have a 20 in A's and a 30 in B's, you have a net negative 10. Right? Hopefully that wasn't too gamified and silly. But anyway, yeah, these quizzes I was looking at online were, I don't know, they were just kind of hokey. I wasn't feeling it. So I was like, I can make my own stupid quiz if we're going to go hokey. So B's get subtracted from A's regardless of which total's higher. So you could have a negative, could have a positive. And then I will just go back through these again. By the way, this art is some art Jeremy did for me. The color ones on the right are from Twilight 2000 little adventure site thing I made. Not adventure site, adventure encounter supplement I made under their license. Put it on DriveThru. You got a 20. Sweet. Okay, so 24 to 31 is a Fred. Negative 2 to 4 to positive 4 is a Tony. Negative 4 to negative 11 is a Clay. 10 to 23 is a Phil. So you would fall in the Phil range. Which is a good range to be in. I approve, Clarion. We got to get you on to play with us sometime. I think it'd be fun. Vero said, what? What as in what are we doing? Like, what is this dumb system I'm babbling about? Or what about what? Vero. Wait, add A's and B's separate and subtract. Yes. So add your 5 A's together, make one total. Add your 5 B's together, make one total. Subtract the B's from the A's. So you might get a positive result, you might get a negative result. Well, I knew, Clarion, that you would not be a Larry. And I figured you probably wouldn't be a Clay or a Tony, so good on you. Phil is good stuff. Vero got a 1. A 1 is a Clay. Nope, I lied. A 1 is a Tony. Okay, so that may seem... Don't take that as bad. None of these are... This isn't a grade or anything. Well, unless you got a negative 15 to a negative 19. Then I am judging you. But anything else is just a thing. Tony... I actually really like playing with this guy. Like, he's he's a lot of fun to play with. He's just unpredictable, but in an amusing way, not in a negative way. And he's smart and he's thoughtful. And he's always doing things, little things that surprise me. So good job. And then Phil, well, Calarion, I think you know who Phil is. And obviously I love playing with Phil. We, for whatever reason, we kind of complement each other. I think we both bring the enthusiasm for whatever game we're playing, which is awesome. Step one. But then he's just a little quicker on the uptake with the intellectual stuff than me. Like the hard stuff, like the math and the science stuff, and I complement that with more of the social stuff and sciencey history stuff. And we play off each other really well. So good job, both of you. My defense, I have no idea for 1 and 10, so I put 5. No idea for 1. Oh, now I gotta go look. 1 and 10. Session zeros. Okay, one shots and short campaigns. Okay, well that's fair. I mean, if you don't get to play a lot, totally fair. I would say, from my point of view, my very biased point of view, the next time you have an opportunity to play a role-playing game, make sure there's a session 0 where the players get to talk about what the game will be like and what kind of characters they are interested in playing, instead of just making a character and hoping for the best. 10 one-shots and short campaigns. So one-shots obviously are like, if you've listened to our Alien games, we take some pre-generated characters and we just play that one adventure, and we probably never revisit those characters. Or in the case of Alien, they're all dead or crazy or mutilated anyway. And then short campaigns, that's a real relative thing, right? Like, what's a short campaign? Like, a long campaign on our channel might be a short campaign in real life, if you know what I mean. Like, I played a 2nd edition D&D campaign in the 90s that lasted for like 5 years, and I think that's the longest campaign I've ever played in. Some people ridiculously long campaigns. I don't know if you've seen that video, but there's this guy in Canada that's been playing an ongoing West Marches style D&D campaign since like the 80s, and like his daughter has been born, grown up, and joined the campaign in that time. And like that's amazing to me. I don't think I'm capable of that level of commitment, because I'm always looking at new games going, ooh, what's that over there? But yeah, more power to them. How about you, Calarion? What's like the longest game you've been in? Asking questions online is always trouble because there's a delay. But you put 5s for 1 and 10. I think that's totally reasonable. Because I did use strong wording, right? I said an essential part, and I could see that triggering some people. Like, whoa, essential? I don't know about essential. And then one-shots and short campaigns are superior. Well, that's... You don't know till you've played the game what's a superior experience is going to be, and it's going to be different for every person. But yeah, that's been fun, man. We got no Larrys, which is a win. Like I said, Tony is low as... This is why this is a very unscientific quiz, right? Tony's like little score range looks super low, but it's not, it doesn't mean anything in a negative way. It's just a way to group these attributes, right? And I really enjoy playing with this Tony person who never watches my YouTube videos, so I probably could have just used his real name. Actually, I could have used all their real names because, well, Phil watches them sometimes, but nobody else in my group does. Well, that was it for me. I think. I thought about doing a news video, but man, I just wasn't finding anything that was really grabbing me. I posted a couple in the Discord. That I think Kalarian definitely saw one of them at least, but maybe next week I'll try to put together a news thing. So I think we have next week without Jeremy, and then hopefully he'll be all good and back the week after that. One thing I'm going to start editing the next session of Warlock of Firetop Mountain. It was a long session, longer than the first one, and I'm trying to decide how I want to approach it because there was a lot of I got caught in these weird loops in the dungeon, and I had to keep backtracking and find my way out. And that's not very fun to watch or listen to. Listen to Matt going, nah, man, go back to this page and blah, blah, blah. It's certainly not selling their product. So I might chop it a little more heavily. The last one I edited more for quality than content. Like just, bad sounds, or, I'm a bit of a heavy breather, so I try to chop out a lot of the heavy breathing. This time I might actually edit it for content and just sort of compress it down. Maybe I'll film a little apology in the middle and put it in, like a little 10-second apology, and then cut out like an hour of material or something. I don't know. That might feel a little cheaty, though, for people that are into it for the actual play. We'll see. But it's going to take a while to edit that one, so I'm not exactly sure when that one's going to drop. So I got Total War Warhammer 3. It was really cheap on Steam. I was kind of surprised. And so I was thinking, what if I stream this and I can just shoot the shit with, Abyss and Kalarian and Vero, whoever wants to jump on. I don't know, Vero and Kalarian, how into the Warhammer fantasy lore you guys are. I know Abyss has some exposure to it, although he's more into the 40k end of it. But it's a cool game. I love all the Total War games, and it's the kind of game because you can pause all the time. It'd be real easy for me to shoot the shit with you guys while I'm streaming the game. So I'm going to try to set that up, and I think there'll be one day next week where I do that. And then, like I said, probably I think I'll try to do a Thursday news thing next week. Maybe by then I will have put together enough news stuff that I feel like it's worthwhile doing an hour or so. New to a lot of this, actually. Y'all got me hooked. Oh, well, that's awesome, Vero. That's awesome. Just don't get too hooked into Warhammer. It will cost you a lot of money. But that's it. I really enjoy listening to you all. Well, we enjoy having you. In fact, we every once in a while when you take a break, we're like, dang, where's Vero? And like, I'm missing Abyss right now, but I think it's because he's getting sleep being in Europe. So it's cool. Totally respect that choice. I'm going to bed after this myself. I'm not going to play Warhammer. I'm not going to stay up and play Warhammer. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for humoring me, guys, and playing along with the silly quiz and listening to me blather about these personality types. Yes, it is my game group. No, it doesn't apply to everybody. But I thought it was fun, and I thought you might see some inklings of people you know or play with, or maybe a little bit of yourself in some of these things. So that's why I wanted to do it. Thought it'd be a fun little just discussion topic. But yeah, thanks you guys. I'm going to bid you a good night because it is 10 on the dot right now. Yeah, a little short, but I appreciate you all hanging with me, and I will be back sometime. Maybe I'll try to do the stream, the Warhammer stream, maybe Wednesday night, and then I can get a news thing together for Thursday, and then take Friday off. I tried to get Will to come on, but he's not really into this part of it. He likes playing the games, which I totally respect. So I'll stop blathering. Good night, Clarion. Good night, Vero. Good night, anybody lurking out there. And we will talk to y'all later.